Hey guys, welcome to another Trade Genius podcast. Bob and Phil here. Look, we've uncovered more material that shows that the Fed is actually stealing money away from the banks. And if you don't believe us, you will after this video. So let's dive in.
Trade Genius.
Hey guys, I want to tell you something that we do that really will change the way in which you look at trading and also absolutely help you increase your profitability and how much money you make. It's the Trade Genius newsletter. We put the newsletter out Sunday night through Thursday night, and this really looks at the plumbing of the markets and helps prepare you for the next trading day and help you make money. And we give you a lot of information. We give you market statistics, we give you market levels, we give you the seasonality, what's happening with different sectors of the market, and we will help you identify whether the market's in a bear mode or a bull mode, or whether it's euphoric, whether it's despondent, and it just puts you in a position to be on the right side of the trade. So take advantage of our offer that we have below, and you'll love it. I mean, one trade that you make with this thing can pay for definitely a month, maybe even a year's worth of service. It's that powerful. Use promo code podcast for 15% off the retail price of newsletter. Thanks for listening.
Hey Bob, how's it going? Volatility remains in the markets, but part of this is actually the Fed's doing and basically taking liquidity away from the banks. And it's interesting what we've found. I'll kick it over to you to explain it.
Yeah, we're all watching and worrying about, hey, when you're going to get a bank deposit at the Fed. Well, they already have one called money market account. And this is pretty wild. And I know you have some slides to explain it, but in this situation, if you take money out of your bank, but you're going to transfer it, you want to stay invested, there's only a few options for you, right? So, you move it on into the Fed for treasuries. Okay, we can count for that. Or you move it into a money market account, but it shows up on another bank balance sheet. So, basically kind of washes out. But what has been happening is that's not been the case. And a situation is occurring that these money market accounts are actually depositing their proceeds directly to the Fed. So they're getting a 4.75% on the reverse repo, but they're probably paying money market rates in the 1 to 2s or 3s, and they're taking a skim with zero risk, Phil. They don't have to worry about the bank going under, being an unsecured creditor to the bank or whatever. And what that's doing is basically doing Powell's work for him, and in the sense that if that money is not on deposit with the bank, they can't use it for lending purposes. So he's drawing people away from, first of all, he's drawing the banks away from lending to you, and then he's drawing these money market accounts away from the banks so they can't lend to you. And so what's happening though is it's squeezing these regional and small banks out, Phil. I mean, pretty wild. I mean, pretty insidious, pretty sneaky. And there's actually a term for it. It's called a narrow bank. And it's funny because it's not inside the Fed, this is not universally accepted. This is, basically Powell jamming this down people's throats because there's some people that don't like it. They want the banks to have the money. They want the banks to lend. They want the liquidity in the banks. So this is part of that civil war that I think we're having, inside our economic system between what I would call hard money guys and the internationalist MMT people. What say you?
Well, I think this yesterday when he was doing his speech, it's, and they caught a sentence where he said tighter credit conditions can substitute for rate hikes. And we commented that on the live stream, and it validates what we're seeing. So, here's an innocuous tweet that comes across, but it's actually really, really important because it shows you what the game plan is. The game plan is to literally suck all the liquidity out. Because remember, we still have a lot left in the system from COVID, but it's also a function of trying to get greater control over the banking system. And we get a lot of comments on our videos about the CDBC coming and things like that, and it's hard to argue with their points because everything that they're doing seems like all roads lead to a CBDC. It's consolidate the banks. The next thing is you want to have your money insured, use the CBDC. You want that higher FDIC insurance? Use the CBDC. So you can see where they're kind of shaping all this to go in that direction. Now, keep in mind, they've been telling us that, the American people aren't ready for a CBDC. I don't think they'll like it. Kashkari said it's not a good idea. Doesn't matter. Until they show us otherwise, they're pushing us all into that direction. They're choking off on-ramps to crypto. Aside from Bitcoin, they are really coming down on anything else altcoin-wise, which, makes it hard to be a long-term speculator on altcoins because you just don't know. know. That might be something that's just going to be regulated to overseas. Personally, my belief is, Bitcoin probably came from some place from Wall Street, whether it was an entity or one of these banks or a group, but they created it. They knew it would fit inside that commodity rule and not be a security. And they don't want Bitcoin's market cap getting diluted because that's the escape hatch. Okay, this is my theory. And so they're trying to block out the speculation on the altcoins, because otherwise Bitcoin's value would go much higher. If the altcoin market cap was reduced significantly and was pushed into Bitcoin, Bitcoin's price is a lot higher. And if that's the agenda, this is the way to do it. So, I think it plays into everything. And then on top of that, Bob, we can show people what's happening without, you don't have to take our word for it. Just watch what's happening over here in the repo market, because that's where this is going. This is where this stuff is hiding. So this blue line is the reverse repo. This is the overnight repo market. Basically what this means is if this line's going up, more of the larger institutions are putting money and parking it with the Fed. And that's what the Fed wants, because the Fed wants them to park at the Fed, dry up these smaller banks and dry up the amount of speculation in the markets, whether that be crypto altcoins or high flying tech stocks, things of that nature. They're trying to contract this market. And this graph here, this reverse repo graph, is proof in the pudding that that's what's happening.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Why do you need a bank if you can? All a bank is a vessel to get this money over to the Fed.
Right.
They should just do what Japan does, just put it in the post office, right?
Right.
So it's really interesting how I think we're starting to see some of the plumbing that really wasn't apparent to a lot of us before. Is that the Federal Reserve is really now taking over banking functions that look. A year or 2 years ago, Phil, this was 0.5 they were paying out on these reverse repos. Now they're at 4.75%. And you know who's paying for that, right? We are.
Ultimately.
Remember, when the Fed makes money, they have to share it with the Treasury. When the Fed loses money, the Treasury has to supply the difference to the Fed.
Right.
And the Fed's been running at negative balances, for the last 18 months.
Right.
And that's money we're not getting as tax revenue.
Why do you think Yellen and Powell are making such stern comments about getting the debt ceiling raised? Because if that doesn't happen, that whole circus comes to an end, and it doesn't, and in the end, it doesn't bode well for us in the short term. But they're definitely afraid of the debt ceiling not getting passed in time, because it breaks that mechanism that they rely on.
Yeah, it's just really interesting. So yeah, just another brick in the wall, coming at us here. They don't have to necessarily do CDBC to get a lot of control over us. I think people are looking at they're worrying about the wrong thing at the wrong time. There'll be time to worry about them censoring your transaction, but in the meantime, they'll have all the plumbing already put in place.
Exactly. Yep. Agreed. All right, guys. Well, we hope you found that informative. And as always, please hit like and subscribe and smash that notification bell if you can and set it to all. It really helps us out. And we'll see you on tomorrow's video. Take care.
Trade Genius.